And welcome back to Janky AF and Year of the Aerostar, episode 17. Well, as you can see, perhaps by my shirt, last episode we had a gorgeous black Aerostar, and today we have a beautiful white Aerostar, ebony and ivory, perfect harmony. A 1994 Ford Aerostar extended window minivan, listed for just $1,600 in Corcoran, California, which I believe is a bit north of Los Angeles, so we're starting to creep down there. Now, actually, I don't even know what's considered Southern California. This is, of course, the SoCal residency. Is Los Angeles considered Southern California? How far south are we talking? So, just by the listing alone here, Ford Aerostar extended window minivan, it's funny, you can see that people are clicking buttons on a options list provided by Facebook Marketplace, because extended window minivan sounds funny. It sounds like, oh, just the windows are extended. It's a Ford Aerostar with bigger windows or extended windows. Extended obviously refers to the body length, and then window refers to whether it's a window or a cargo version. So Ford Aerostar extended window minivan would specify that it is a passenger van that is long, and indeed it is, and a beautiful, beautiful Aerostar here. A lot of things to note right off the bat is, of course, this beautiful white color, and just like the last one that we looked at that had this beautiful white tri-pinstriping, this instead has black, but it's not really a pinstriping, it's more like a molding. It's more like an actual physical piece that's stuck on there, but it serves the same purpose as a pinstripe, to sort of just barely break up the color with a high contrast variant. The other thing we'll note very immediately is that the bumpers, which I talked about in the last video too, how they're rarely colored, the body color, and I don't think ever from the factory really. This one does have the white bumpers, and I think it's specifically in white, any color, but specifically in white, when the bumpers are painted the body color, it really just like kicks it up a notch, as Emerald Lagasse would say. Like, it really just adds this pop to it, because you see it in its like totality without any sort of, you know, break in color or anything like that. So, and you see more of the grooves. You see, you know, it's easy to forget that these little grooves in the bumpers, they're not just a solid piece of plastic. Again, with the grooves and creases and panel lines just continuing to add to it, which is a very interesting thing. And you even see, I love how this one groove even comes out a little longer than the other one, so it suggests the movement that will ultimately go right over the wheel arch. Little things like that are why the Aerostar is just the greatest vehicle of all time. And so many other reasons, of course. So your front and rear bumpers are body colored, painted white. I think that looks absolutely incredible. And of course, white being, you know, the color that is the opposite of all the window seals and your slide here and your door handles. And it looks like this is an all-wheel drive version too, which for $1,600 is especially a good deal. Your mirrors, your, you know, little piece of plastic that holds your mirror right there, your hood cowl, your radio antenna, your windows, all this stuff is black. Your tires even, you could say, so the white just adds this high contrast value to it, and of course highlights the design. Jay Leno famously says that, you know, and of course he's getting it from someone too, it's all derivative, that if you want to truly see if a design is of quality or not, see it in white, particularly, you know, for automotive purposes anyways, because it can't hide behind any dark colors, it can't hide behind any wild neon colors. It's almost naked, and it's almost you know, pure in its design. Now, I would argue under the right lighting conditions, black is actually the same thing, because it's also sort of like, you know, just a color that shows off the purity of something, a very strong color. But that's neither here nor there. Another thing we see on this great Aerostar is this running board. We've seen a lot of these recently. Now, I think you probably could order these from the factory, running boards, but I'm not sure about that actually. But it is this beautiful little steel kind of tacked on running board, step-up bar. And this one in particular, you see these wonderful, wonderful orange lights, almost like trucker lights or something like that, put on here. And I would just love to see those things aglow, you know, especially at nighttime. I bet it's just a riveting, riveting look. And of course, it's very practical and functional, because it shows you where you have to step onto to enter your Aerostar. So I love that, love functionality. As we've seen a lot recently, these beautiful hubcaps, which are like kind of like the slicer style, but in a hubcap rather than a wheel. Of course, you have these great little beveled out edges here that suggest all this circular movement. I absolutely love it. They could have just put holes in them, but it has this nice little scallop in there, and it really, really works well. In terms of hubcaps go, I think these are wonderful, wonderful hubcaps. And they do a good job of not really showing like the wheel under there too, which is the whole point of a hubcap, right? It's supposed to be decorative. It's supposed to, you know, I don't know why you'd ever want to hide steel wheels. I love steel wheels. I love painted steel wheels. I love non-painted steel wheels. But in any case, the hubcap became a thing. And the funny thing about hubcaps, this is a complete, you know, digression, but I feel like early on hubcaps just covered up, they're almost like center caps. They covered up like a small part of the vehicle's wheel. And now at some point they've transitioned into being like facsimiles of an actual wheel rather than just a hubcap, which again, it's covering your hub, your wheel hub, not like your whole wheel. So they're wheel caps, I guess you would more accurately call them. And I think some people do. Anyways, that was a nice little tangent. 248,196 miles. Unbelievable. This is one of the higher ones we've seen, although the first one we saw was over 300,000. So these things are capable machines. Now I would be willing to bet this might have the 4-liter engine in it, which would be a beast with the all-wheel drive variant of this van. That would be sort of like the maxed out factory sort of rough and tumble Aerostar, all-wheel drive with the 4-liter in it, just a little bit more oomph than the 3-liter. These, of course, can tow 5,000 pounds, or at least that's what Ford told us. I think they can. I think the brakes are probably a little underpowered for that. Realistically, you'd want to be nice and careful and slow. And certainly the early Aerostars, like my 86 Aerostar with the 2.3-liter 4-cylinder, you're making 100 horsepower, 100 pound-feet of torque approximately, and the van already weighs well over 3,000 pounds, closer to 4,000. You got another 5,000 tacked on top of that. It's like absolute insanity. Probably not good for your transmission either, whether it's manual or automatic. But I would say if this is all-wheel drive, it could definitely, you know, tow 5,000 pounds. And there's not easy brake upgrades for the Aerostar. I've searched all over the forums. That is unfortunate. It'd be nice if you could just bolt on some Explorer brakes or something like that. I think any sort of meaningful brake upgrade, other than just like slotted rotors or something, that will require quite a bit of fabrication. I would love if someone would come out with like a, you know, easily reproducible, or if Will would or something like somebody like that would come out with an Aerostar brake kit as an upgrade. That would be fantastic. But until then, we'll just have to be careful. Good condition, runs good. So not only is it in good condition, but it also runs good. So the running, I guess, is part of its condition. And as a automobile, that is important. No leaks, heater works, just had it smogged. Again, this is my favorite word, smogging. We had a good smogging last night. 2022 tags for 8 people. 2022 tags for 8 people. I love this. This listing has got me going. Not seats 8 people or can seat 8 people. This is for 8 people. So it's like 8, at all times, 8 people must ride in this Aerostar. Which is funny because I guess that means you would have 2 in the front and then 3 in the middle and back rows, which makes sense because a lot of the, we'll see if we can get any interior pictures of this as we scroll around now. I love this. Another great trope. How do you cover up the license plate in a marketplace picture? And in this case, they have done it with a thumbs up symbol, which I give a thumbs up to. That's just thumbs up emoji. That is fantastic. I don't know why it makes me so happy, but it's like, I'm not letting you see my license plate. Thumbs up. We can also see here, which is another thing I talked about in the last video, the beautiful Black Beauty Aerostar. Well, it seems like only one. They painted one headlight bezel. I love when the headlight bezels are painted too. You see this it's fairly common. But if we scroll over, it looks like the other one is chrome. So maybe they never got around to it, or they started and they didn't like the idea. But that is very, very funny. There's a little bit of asymmetry there in this Aerostar. Oh, maybe this isn't a molding. Maybe it's actually a pinstripe. I apologize if I'm wrong on that, or maybe it's just is a molding. It just looks quite two-dimensional here. I wonder if it is in fact a double black pinstripe. That would be quite striking, wouldn't it? But you can just see with the doors open here and the white bumper and the white headlight bezels there, you can see just how the monochromatic white is hitting you in the face, and yet in strong contrast to these black accents all over the vehicle, which I understand is not monochromatic, but I think you catch my drift. Okay, another beautiful shot, sort of front 3/4 here. Again, the thumbs up. I love it. I love everything about this listing. I love everything about this Aerostar. And quite frankly, you know, it's funny. I just heard someone talking about a 1,000,000 mile. I guess Tyler Hoover has a 1,000,000 mile diesel truck of some sort. There was, of course, Matt Farah's 1,000,000 mile Lexus. And so I like this really. I saw a Corvette C5 red with 740 something thousand miles on it. That was a famous one that went to auction. So it's funny that the higher mileage you go, the worse it is for resale value until you kind of hit that threshold, and all of a sudden it kind of becomes more valuable because it's made it that far, and it's like a milestone, you know. Like if you can get an Aerostar with over 300,000, you almost want to buy it just because of that odometer reading is like a trophy in and of itself, you know. And even if you rebuild the engine or whatever, I put a new one in there, it's still that vehicle has still done those miles, you know. And speaking of miles, for 248,000 miles, this is incredibly clean inside. Now you have this, I love this wheel cover, which almost seems like it, I'll show you in a second, the two-tone gray seats almost matches the seats. So although I do not really love wheel covers, I do love the fact that they got one that like, it almost looks custom made to match these seats. That's like almost like shocking. Now you have a great button here. I wonder what that's for, if it's, and you have another one here. So you have some sort of custom auxiliary functions. I'd be very curious to what those are. And I will say quite neatly and tastefully integrated in there. Looks like it's almost been detailed. I don't see a speck of dust on this. It has one of my favorite accessories of all time, which is the dashboard mat. I love the dashboard mat. I compared it on another episode to, you know, your carpet that goes around your toilet seat. But I love the dashboard, or maybe that's what I compared the steering wheel cover to. I can't remember. The year of the Aerostar on Janky AF. Thank you very much for joining us. This looks like a blue dashboard mat, which doesn't really match the rest of the car aesthetically in color, but it is a nice little sort of like little accent. I think white and blue, the sort of Greek color scheme, is very, very beautiful. And I love a dashboard mat. It's funny, it protects the dashboard, and also it just seems like sort of this weird form of luxury where you can set stuff on it, or maybe, you know, put some little figurines or statues and create a little landscape living on your dashboard. So as we move around, looks like a custom head unit there. And notice the detail in this dashboard too, how it even comes all the way over just to fit this little crease. Amazing, you know. Looks like you do have a rear defroster on this model. This is, I will say, this is quite, you know, the loaded Aerostar. See your little great center console. I love that this was a picture they chose to include here. It looks like blue floor mats too, so you got a little bit of a blue theme. You know, showing off your great center console. The lighting is very, you know, almost film noir. Like it's very deep shadows and brilliant highlights. I like that. Adds to the drama. Of course, there we have living proof of our mileage. You know, he's not lying. 248,196.0 exactly. Amazing. What an incredible achievement. You know, you think about 100,000 miles, that's a lot. And then you think 200,000 and it's, whoa, that's double 100,000 and another 50 on top of that. I mean, it's a lot of miles. Again, your dashboard is in beautiful condition. No cracks, looks like it's in great shape. Looks like it's been recently dusted and detailed. They really went all out on this listing, and I appreciate it. Now, I've talked a lot about the Aerostar two-tone seats. I love the two-tone seats. And this is a little bit on the rare side because they're gray, two-tone gray. And of course, the two-tone is not just referring to color, but also fabric type itself. You have this wonderful, almost heather little stitch pattern here that goes against this more like velour-like comfortable material. And of course, your headrests are integrated into the seat, which I absolutely love. It's very 80s/90s. I think it's just a great look, and they just look so puffy and inviting. You just want to sit in them and drive for 248,000 miles. I love yours. This is sort of like a, you know, a little giveaway that this is sort of more like a truck than a van, because you have these like sort of long seatbelt holsters. But beautiful. I love an old school metal seatbelt buckle. You know, none of this plastic, although your button is plastic, but it's a beautiful red, so we'll forgive that, or orange. But you see the no piping on these seats, and while I think the seats look great with the piping, it's a perfect little accentuator that sort of highlights the disparity in the different colors or patterns, or, you know, thread types. Without it, it's almost a little bit more subtle, but in a way it's more striking because it shows you the contrast between this, as I said, the more velour material and the more like sort of heathered, starchy cloth material. Really beautiful seats. I can't believe this vehicle has been driven in for almost 250,000 miles and the interior is in this good condition. Really outstanding. There's one bench seat, and I believe it has like a middle buckle there. So yeah, you could fit 8 people. This is for 8 people. So if 7 other people want to join me in buying this Aerostar, boy, it only costs us a few $100 each. So, let me know. Again, I love how the contrast in the seats goes all the way to the middle and the back rows too. It's just that added, going all the way, not cheaping out on the rear seats. Incidentally, these bench seats they've come a long way. Bench seats in minivans have come a long way. I'll just say that. They're heavy. They're hard to get into this little notch. You have to clamp it in on 2 sides. It's quite the rigmarole. Not the Aerostar's finest moment, but I feel like most people, they're either leaving the seats in or taking them out. So you're not doing it all the time. As you can see, just amazingly spacious. Even your carpets look to be in fairly good condition. A little bit of staining going on there. You don't see any, your headliner even looks in good condition. Your plastic moldings all inside here aren't warped by the sun or anything like that. So for a California car, it's very impressive. I won't be surprised if this was even garaged for part of its life. It looks very, very clean. And you got a little paint fade on the bumper there. Most likely that was probably like a rattle can job. But seems to have held up pretty well. You do have, looks like maybe some duct tape or electrical tape there. It's an interesting situation. And there we go back to profile, and just absolutely beautiful. Looks like it's almost climbing a hill here, a little slant. Just stunning. It's funny that they don't mention that it's all-wheel drive, because that would be, seemingly like a noteworthy thing to include in your listing. Certainly increases the resale value of the vehicle. It's in good condition and it runs good, which is just phenomenal. I mean, it's $250,000, but then again, for $1,600, like, even if your motor blows up, then you put a new one in for a couple thousand, and you got a brand new motor on a just amazingly clean, useful, versatile, fun, beautiful vehicle. So like, even worst case scenario, your engine blows or something like that. Now it's California, so maybe you have to replace some suspension or brake components, but not because of rust, just because of wear. Your brake lines are already fine. You probably want to flush your fluids and all that. It is funny that how we have the Kelly Blue Book integrated into the Facebook Marketplace. I always get a kick because any car that's being sold under $5,000, Kelly Blue Book will say it's worth, at a baseline of $300 or something. I think my Buick, the bottom of my Buick, my 95 Buick, was like $293 or something like that. And it's like, the folks at Kelly Blue Book, $496. Now maybe this is trade value, what they're considering trade value, but even I think most of these sites now, especially these online sites and dealerships too, are offering pretty good trade incentives. They want to get new inventory out, so they'll take pretty good money for your trade. So $496. There's no way anyone's selling any vehicle that's running for less than $500. Like, you're just not going to see it. So again, I'm not, no shade against Kelly Blue Book, but Kelly, in his or her blue book, I think they just gotta, rejigger some of the numbers, because, it's inaccurate, and that, I guess this it would be at the high end of the value spectrum, so technically it still fits in, but that low end, again, no one's selling a running vehicle of any sort, let alone an Aerostar, for $496. So I think that the more expensive the cars get, the better these valuation tools get. But for cheap, sort of older, more high mileage cars, and what I'm considering emerging classics, I don't think you should listen to this. Like, if you message this person and said Kelly Blue Book says it's only worth $500, like, take a hike, buddy. Like, get real. So try to say as many 90 terms as I can as I'm talking about a 90s vehicle. So, just a stunning, we've seen a couple 94s recently, a good year for the Aerostar, certainly. 1994 Aerostar extended window minivan in what looks to be all-wheel drive, with a couple of little bolt-ons and doodads. Now I'm thinking about it, one of those auxiliary switches is probably for your running board lights there. And boy, I would love to see those all aglow as this beautiful Aerostar cruises down the streets in sunny California and creates a stir wherever it goes because of its dashing, handsome, good looks. There you go. We'll go one more time through the pictures, let you see some of this elegance and beauty on display one more time. Now, I would say, if you could paint this front grille white and then maybe this other headlight bezel, then maybe, but I don't know, you might want to leave the chrome or you just white it out completely, but I think it would look absolutely stunning. So that's one little modification you could make if you chose to. And then, it's like, do you carry it on to the mirrors? I don't know. How far do you take it, or how much contrast do you want? That's up to you if you're the brand new owner of this 1994 Aerostar. Again, the interior just, You know, you have a little bit of wear going on here, but it's funny. It's not quite a brown, not quite a gray, but a very, very interesting color. And I just think it suits the exterior wonderfully. Just a beautiful, look at these little switches. I haven't really talked about this too much. I love these little switches, how, you know, it's an interesting shaped switch. It looks like a little beaker or something like that, but it's great because it seems like it'd be fairly ergonomic. It's easy to grab if you're looking at the road and you want to, you know, make sure you're grabbing the right part of it, and then it points perfectly to where, you know, you want it to go. So just little touches like those make this car so great. So there you have it. Another beautiful Aerostar. And currently in our Southern California residency. Thanks so much for watching. We'll have another one very soon for you. And until next time, Janky do Thanky.
One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.